South Louisiana loves its football, and this year, there's a new spin on its favorite teams. 3 new faces in new places for the Tigers, Jags, and Saints. Join us as we take you inside the rebuild, the return, and the rebrand of some of your Saturday and Sunday heroes. New beginnings, turnover, and change are the talk as 3 new coaches take over. Brian Kelly at LSU, Dennis Allen for the Saints, and Eric Dooley for the Jags.
Hey, good evening and welcome in. We certainly love our football in South Louisiana, and this year, I guess we're going to have to learn to love it just a little differently. All 3 of our high-interest teams have new faces stepping into the head coaching role. Some familiar faces just in new places, and some, well, couldn't be further removed than if they'd come all the way from Massachusetts. Of course, we're talking about Brian Kelly, Eric Dooley, and Dennis Allen. 3 men with different paths, but now all 3 find themselves leading once proud programs looking for that reemergence. Over the next half hour, I'll be joined by the rest of the WBRZ sports staff as we look into how these new head coaches plan to get their team back amongst the elite. We're going to start here in Baton Rouge, leading off with the biggest and maybe most shocking of the 3 hires. Brian Kelly leaving the green and gold of Notre Dame for the purple and gold of LSU. He says he's chasing the one thing that has evaded him in his coaching career, a national title at the highest level of college football. But the question that is will his tenure have to answer is that will his brand of football, his CEO style of approach, will get LSU back to the top of the Southeastern Conference and therefore back in the national championship race. Staying in Baton Rouge, the ultimate goal the same for the new Southern head coach Eric Dooley. Can he get the Jaguars back to where they were when he was just the wide receiver coach about 20 years ago? Dooley comes over from a conference foe where he's already proven he can turn around a loser. What happens when he's atop one of the most recognizable brands in HBCU football? And finally, Dennis Allen ascends the throne vacated by Sean Payton with the Saints. This is an offense to defense flip of the same mind, or will DA have the Saints looking like a totally different team? He's had this role as an NFL head coach before, and it didn't go great. What gives us any pause that things will change now that he's with the black and gold? All those questions will be addressed in the next half hour. We are just getting started here. Coming up next, we're diving into the technical and tactical approach that Brian Kelly brings with him to Tiger Town. It's a rebuild from the ground up for LSU. How much can one man do? We'll try to answer that next. Welcome back to our Football Coaches Special. I'm Michael Cobble. We're taking a look at what makes our 3 new coaches tick and why we think they'll have either success or failure in their new jobs. Now, no doubt the highest profile new hire has to be Brian Kelly at LSU. The former Notre Dame head coach brings a cachet with him of proven success, but only to a certain point. It's his move here that he's hoping gets him over a hump and into a national championship game.
The timing was right for me. The place was perfect. It was then taking on that great opportunity in front of me to be part of restoring championship quality football to LSU. Also, the chance to be part of this incredible conference, the SEC. The challenges that come with that.
And boy, does he have some challenges. He's got his hands full since getting here, tearing down football ups all the way to the studs and rebuilding it one player, one coach at a time. Take a look at his college football resume. He started off as a linebacker in college, which is interesting because most of the time we see him tinkering with the offense. He graduated with a political science degree and went into politics for a while, eventually coaching women's softball there at Assumption. His first paying football job, was at Grand Valley State, where he would eventually become the head coach and lead the Lakers to 3 Division II titles. Those accomplishments got him an invite to the big time and started a quick ascent to the really big time. 3 years with the Chippewas, 3 years with the Bearcats, and Kelly was off to South Bend with the Irish. Now, he would lead Notre Dame to the mountaintop rather quickly as well. In just his 3rd year, Kelly had the Irish in the BCS title game. His teams would make 2 more stops in the playoffs over the last 2 years. Some may wonder how LSU and Kelly fit together, but with his results like this, it's clear why Scott Woodward picked him to lead the LSU Tigers.
I think fit is about, the ability to run a program, at the highest level. I've done it for 32 years. I've had success at Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Central Michigan, wherever I've been. So, developing players, player development. I think those are the most important thing. And I don't think that needs to be, geographical in a sense. I've gotten to love where I'm at in Baton Rouge. I love the people. They love football. They love family. And they love food. And that fits me really well. So I guess I should have been in the South all along.
Now, Kelly's used that line a couple of different times, but it serves the purpose of pointing out that his coaching skills basically travel. It's about relatability and teaching all at the core of it. And so far, Kelly's players say he may seem very buttoned up, but he's actually down to earth and meets them on their level to get his message across.
The guy's won a lot of games, and it's not by mistake. He's got a process, he's got a plan, and he relays that plan to everybody really well.
I feel like since he got here, things been great. It kind of progressed throughout time, and I feel like we're in a good environment under a great head coach.
He has a plan, and he's executing that plan starting from when he first got here. So the way he's just planned out camp is very efficient. We're getting in the morning, we're getting a good practice in, coming back, recovery. Every time we get on the field, we're ready to go.
You see him and you're like, dang, he's very professional, very, like big figure type guy. But I go up to him in the hallway, first time I ever met him, and we started talking about fishing and, whatever, and now that back with him, he tells me about, he went to wherever in South Louisiana and, did this, and this. He's a very approachable guy. You might not think it, but you go talk to him and he's very easy to talk to.
Brian Kelly, big fishing guy, never would have seen it. Of course, that easygoing vibe has helped turn around the LSU Tiger recruiting. Kelly and his staff were behind the 8 ball right out of the gate with their late hiring this past early signing period. Coaches said that he's recently been able to build those relationships that are crucial in connecting with the high schoolers and their coaches. He's also learned that the top of the boot is just as important as the bottom when it comes to getting the guys on board.
I think that means, make sure you extend yourself. It's not just New Orleans and the greater Baton Rouge area. You got to get up north. You got to get all the way up through Shreveport. You got to get up to Monroe. You got to get up all into the state of Louisiana. Now, that doesn't mean you just take a kid from Louisiana because he's from Louisiana. If he's not rated as high, then can you go out of state? Sure. But you better know the players in the state of Louisiana. And that means the entire state. And I think that that's maybe where, if I've gotten any feedback, that maybe we needed to extend our recruiting efforts a little bit further north.
Certainly knowing it and doing it, two different things. We wish them success on the recruiting trail. You got to get those offensive linemen from North Louisiana. What do you say we take a look at the Tigers' schedule in 2022? We're just weeks away from the opener against Florida State down in the Dome, and then it's that big Baton Rouge block party with Southern at Tiger Stadium for the first time ever. SEC play starts with Mississippi State at home, then on the road for the 1st of October at Auburn. It's a great early test. Same can be said for Tennessee coming to Death Valley at home. The Tigers turn the corner with a road trip to Florida, Ole Miss at home. Then they have their bye week, Alabama and the Crimson Tide. Everyone expecting them to be the national championships when this thing is over. They'll be at home on November the 5th. Arkansas on the road, one final non-con with UAB, and they will wrap things up at Texas A&M. No doubt a challenging first year for sure. Coming up next, we're headed up I-110 to check out the Southern Jaguars. New head coach Eric Dooley. The Tigers and the Jags meet in week 2 of the season. The city will be electric. We're talking Jags next. Welcome back into our preseason look at the football coaches who will be shaping our Saturdays and Sundays this fall and winter. We're on the second leg of our 3-part look, stopping by the Bluff to check out new Southern Jaguar head coach Eric Dooley. Matt Trent joining me now with more on the man who's tasked with bringing the past back to the present for the Jaguars.
Yeah, Michael, on December 7th, Eric Dooley was named the 20th head coach in Southern's history. Coming over from SWAC rival Prairie View was a bit of a head-scratcher, but he did a lot in just a short time there. A SWAC championship game the year before, a West Division title the year before. He accomplished a lot in 4 years in Texas at PV, but that itch to come back to the Bluff was one that had to be scratched, mainly because it's a second go-round with Southern. Dooley was a wide receivers coach with the legendary Pete Richardson from '97 all the way to 2010. And in that time, it was 4 SWAC championships to go along with 2 HBCU national championships, All of that was put in the trophy case during that time. There were stops at UAPB and Grambling in between the PV job, but even then, he always felt like there was something drawing him back to Baton Rouge. Maybe it was a manifestation from his late father.
It kind of brought tears to my eyes when the job was offered to me, because every time I would come home, at that time my dad was living. Every time I would come home, it didn't matter who was around. He'd tell me, "You're going to be the next head coach at Southern University." I say, "Keep quiet, Dad. You can't say that out loud. I'm the head coach at Prairie View." They don't want to hear that. They can't say that. But it didn't matter. Someone can call him on the phone. Someone can come by him. It doesn't matter. He's going to say it out loud. And when that happened, that just really brought tears to my eyes. He wasn't here to see it, but I know he's looking down on it.
Dooley probably has tears in his eyes of joy when he sees all the talent he inherits. It's a Southern team that is good, but always has grazed being great. Ton of SWAC West Division championships, but the record in conference title games, well, it's not really good. Since 1999, the Jags have been 7 times, lost 4, and most recently lost back-to-back times to rival Alcorn in 2018 and 2019. But the beauty of Dooley is that he's approaching it like a pro, hitting the portal to patch up leaky areas, no detail too small, and definitely injecting passion back into the program.
I thought we was able to bring in some needed areas that could help the talent that was already here. I think when you have a high level of detail, I think you have a chance to be better, be great. So that's what we want to do. I think it don't take anything for to have effort. You don't have to have talent to give effort, but I think if you put your mind on your playbook and get into your playbook and become a student of the game, I think it helps the team to be a much better football team.
Now, if you know anything about Dooley's teams in the past, they play fast. That's been the cornerstone of getting this Southern team back to prominence. The Ferrari has always been in the garage. We just didn't have the key to start it. The spring game, we did, though. Throwing the ball all around the bluff, big plays, quick scores, and it's all about wearing the opponent down. Players will tell you it took some time to get used to, but once the results started to show, the buy-in was almost immediate.
Everything we do is going to be fast, very fast. It's a tempo.
The first practice we had, we thought we was done. We did our stretches, we ran our conditioning, and he said, "Man, back on the ball. We got to go." He tests his players like that. So, I love that about him.
At the beginning, it took some adjusting to get used to it, but it came easy, and I understand how us playing at this fast-paced tempo is going to out-leverage teams.
I've never been in shape like this. The summer was very hard, but it pans out.
Sure seemed like it panned out in that spring game, and if that was any indication of what this season is going to look like, it seems as though the players have taken to it pretty quickly. And plus, when they're out of breath, they can't really tell you if they like it or they don't like it, Michael.
That may be something I have to start doing in the old sports office. Everybody running until they're out of breath. Thanks a lot, Matt. Hey, let's take a look at the Jags schedule. Recently, Southern will open up at home against Florida Memorial. Now, it should be a nice opening victory there to get things going. Then at LSU, as we said, for the first time ever. After that, it's their first road trip to take on Texas Southern up in Arlington, Texas. A week off before they're back home for Pine Bluff. Then how about this? A nationally televised game at Coach Dooley's old stomping grounds in Prairie View, and then at home for a very big one against Alcorn. As you just heard Matt say, hadn't had a lot of success against the Braves recently. The back half of the schedule starts with homecoming, then road games at Jackson and Florida A&M, the home finale against Valley, and then the week off before they tee it up down in the Dome for the Classic. Again, a challenging first-year schedule for that new staff, but when we return, we're jumping into the NFL and the New Orleans Saints. They have their new head man as well. How differently will the Saints look with Dennis Allen at the helm? We're about to find out next. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We've got your Saturday plans already covered with LSU and Southern, but Sundays here in South Louisiana have always been about the New Orleans Saints. During both good times and bad times, the boys in the black and gold have been there for us. And for the past 15 years, Sean Payton has been there. He's been the guy leading the team out on the Dome floor. But that's changing this year as Dennis Allen takes over, moving up from defensive coordinator. Corey Roldan going to join us now with how that move will trickle down throughout the Saints.
Yeah, Michael, Dennis Allen has been a part of this Saints organization for a while now, as he was on Sean Payton's first staff back in 2006 and helped coach them to a Super Bowl win in 2009 as a secondaries coach. So he really understands the culture, how Sean Payton has built the Saints from a laughingstock to a consistent winner. Not a whole lot is expected to change other than it's a defensive guy in charge now rather than an offensive guy. We might not see as many tricky plays or going for it on fourth down. We spoke to Saints general manager Mickey Loomis about the similarities and differences between Sean Payton and Dennis Allen.
I would say he's a grinder. He's you know, set jaw. He's old, a little bit of an old school soul, tough-minded. Maybe a little more conservative. We'll see, you know, as he takes the head coach role. But Dennis has been part of this for, you know, 12 of the last 16 years. So a lot of what he does, he's taken from Sean Payton. So there's a lot of similarities, more similarities than differences at this point.
And this is a unique situation. Normally, when you get a new head coach, that means you're in a rebuilding mode. And the Saints weren't that last year. And they were almost a one win away from making a postseason, starting 4 different quarterbacks. And Payton leaves Allen with a loaded roster on both sides of the ball. But one concern Saints fans may have with Allen is that his last head coaching gig wasn't so good, as Allen went a combined 8-28 as the Raiders head coach from 2012 to 2014, not even making it through his 3rd season, getting canned after 4 games. The average draft pick for Oakland when he was the head coach was around 4. That's not very good. Usually you want to be in the 20s. That means you're a playoff team. After the Raiders, Allen came back to the Saints as a defensive assistant before becoming a DC in 2015. Remember, Saints fans, the black and gold defense before Dennis Allen was not only horrible, but historically bad. Drew Brees had to throw 400-plus yards and had to score 30-plus points to even have a chance to win. You see Allen's first year as a DC, 31st and 32nd in the NFL, but like what Payton did with the offense, Allen did with the Saints defense, changing the culture, and it's now the strength of this team, finishing in the top 5 the past 2 years. And this group played hard and had fun. Remember, every time the Saints got a turnover, it was basically like the whole bench cleared to celebrate. That's something Dennis Allen helped create, and all of his guys love playing for him and are excited that he's getting the opportunity to be the head man.
I feel like as a head coach, he's a little bit more laid back than he was as a D coordinator, man. He was at our neck, making sure we was doing what we had to do. He a good coach, man. He get his point across in a good way, not really trying to down people or make you feel bad, but also making sure you know what he wants as a head coach and making sure we're going out there and doing it every day.
With DA, I know we're going to be there every down. Like, it's, in my mind, we're a defense first team, which I love. And at the same time, I don't know if I'm used to it. I've never had a defensive minded head coach before.
Saints fans are certainly going to have to get used to not having Sean Payton on the sidelines as well. But the organization has set up Dennis Allen well with a talented roster and some really good assistant coaches. And Allen admitted that maybe he wasn't ready for the Raiders job, being a 39-year-old head coach. But now at 49, he's more experienced and in a better situation to succeed. Michael?
All right, good points, Corey. Thank you much. Hey, let's check out the Saints' regular season schedule. They've got a game at Green Bay in just a couple of days, but the real deal won't start until September 11th, opening on the road in Atlanta. Corey, you and I talked about this. How about 3 straight NFC South opponents to start the season? I don't remember that ever happening before. Lots of former Tiger stars coming back to the Dome. We get Jets and the Vikings, and then Joey B and Jam with the Bengals, all part of a 3-game series at home. That'll be a lot of fun. Then there's the Thursday night game out in Phoenix, home for the Raiders. Monday night at home with Baltimore. Then some really tough games. 1 because of travel and 2 because of the teams. The Saints crisscrossing the country on back-to-back roadies. They'll get the week off before their final home game against the Falcons, but then 2 more terrible weather games at Cleveland and at Philly on Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. Don't exactly love that for the team, but of course sitting at home watching those games on the holidays should be a lot of fun. We'll have more right after this. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed getting to know your coaches a little bit better. Certainly plenty of challenges ahead for all three, but I think we demonstrated that all three are more than prepared to meet them and overcome those obstacles. I foresee winning seasons for all three of our area teams. Might be a little challenging at first, but I think they'll hit their strides and really find their footing as they progress throughout the year. And thank you for joining us. You can stay with WBRZ all football season long. We've got new content coming out every game week, including a new weekly football show starting with the season's kickoff. The Jags lead things off at home, the Tigers down in the Dome, and then, of course, the Saints get things going on the road in Atlanta a week later. Early September in South Louisiana, no better place for all your football action. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your seasons.